Hope everybody's having a good day out there today. Most appreciated you guys taking some time to watch the video, and just headed back from Table Rock Lake today. Had an on-the-water lesson down there today. Beautiful April day on the water, and I just wanted to give you guys, I had spent several weeks before since I've given a fishing report for the area here, so I was sort of going to go over all the area lakes around here, this part of the country. I've been fishing quite a bit, so I got a pretty good feel of what's going on everywhere. And weekend coming up, so thought it'd be a good time to give you guys a report. So first of all, I want to say before I get started in it, the lakes around here, Table Rock, Bull Shoals, Grand, Lake of the Ozarks, Stockton, everywhere, they are just getting hammered. I mean, the fishing pressure is just unbelievable. I have never seen so many tournaments. There's tournaments going on during the week down here. There's kayak tournaments, there's high school tournaments, there's college tournaments, there's weekend team circuits, there's big circuits, there's guys practicing for tournaments during the week that are coming up this weekend. I mean, the ramps were full today. Here it is, a Thursday. It's just relentless, man. These tournaments are just like, it's a 7-day out of the week thing. So the big news in this fishing report right now are the lakes are getting hammered beyond their normal hammeredness, because they're always getting hammered, but they're really getting hammered right now. So that's right off the bat. So first of all, that's sort of the common thread that I'm going to talk about in all the lakes today. Like I said, I'm going to go over Table Rock, Stockton, Lake of the Ozarks, Grand, Bull Shoals, is that the spawn is way behind. It's like the fish have not really started spawning yet. There's, like, you can see beds, and I saw a couple fish on beds today, but the biggest majority of the fish have not spawned. The water temperatures aren't even 60 degrees here. Water temperatures, I've been on the Table Rock for 3 days this week. Water temperatures are anywhere between 53 and 58 degrees. The fish they're wanting to push to the bank really. Let's talk about Table Rock first. They're really wanting to push to the bank hard because it's getting to be towards the end of April, and the length of the daylight hours, they want to get up there, but it's just been so cold that they haven't made that big push yet. In my opinion, I don't think a lot of the fish around all the lakes I'm going to talk about today are going to start spawning heavily until the end of the month or the first part of May. So beyond that, like I said, fishing at Table Rock right now is pretty good. It's like I fished all over the lake this week, been catching them all over, been getting lots of bites, catching lots of fish, a lot of different ways you can catch them right now. There's still a lot of fish in that 20-foot zone. There's fish from 2 foot of water right now that you can see some small fish up on the beds down to 20 foot of water. The better fish that I've been catching, guys, have been like on a football head jig out in 15 to 20 foot of water in the staging areas, getting out on those main and secondary points out in that 15 to 20 foot of water. And the bigger fish, like the bigger spotted bass, largemouth and smallmouth, have been coming on that like a football head jig, sometimes a shaky head. Sometimes you can catch them on, just like a swing head jig also. Something on the bottom. I have not been able to get much of a moving bait going, moving bait bite going right now. I did catch one big one earlier in the week on a big swim bait, a big Megabass Mag Draft 8-inch swim bait. So if you get the right day, sorry about my voice, it's still a little scratchy. If you get the right day where you have some wind and overcast, you can catch some of those bigger pre-spawn females on a big swim bait right now. But those fish are wanting to move to the bank hard right now, and it's supposed to be 80 degrees this weekend. I look for a big push to the bank. There's going to be a lot of fish on the beds. If you guys are bed fishing, please let them spawn. Don't try to mess them up too bad. But a lot of the fish are going to be able to be caught on wacky rigs and flukes, floating worms, that type of stuff over the next week. But right now, the fish are as fat as they can be. They're full of eggs. They're just super healthy. And they're, like I said, most of the better fish are deeper at Table Rock right now. Stockton, been up there quite a bit too lately. Stockton, the fish are biting really good. They're behind a lot more at Stockton. The water temperature at Stockton is still pretty cool. It's only in the mid-50s still. And the last trip I had up there last week, we just absolutely waxed them on a crankbait. Just any type of a shad pattern crankbait, covering water, basically just anywhere on a 45-degree angle rock bank in the coves, you could catch them. You could also catch some fish on a Ned rig on the secondary points, but the same thing with Stockton's going to happen. These fish are going to start pushing up. They're going to start, getting into that 2 to 5 foot zone. So the same thing at Stockton. If you guys are fishing at Stockton this weekend, I'd really look hard at fishing a wacky rig and Ned rig and that type of stuff in the spawning type coves. Go over to Grand Lake a little bit. Grand Lake has been getting absolutely hammered. I'm talking about the tournament fishing. The tournament pressure at Grand Lake right now is as worse as it's ever been, and that's having a big impact on the fishing. Personally, I think the fishing on Grand Lake has been sucking lately. It's been taking decent weights to win tournaments, but the weights drop off after that. It's the hardest thing about Grand right now is to be able to run a pattern on the lake because there's so many boats fishing the lake. And it's the same thing at Grand. One of the biggest deal right now at Grand, guys, if you're fishing it, is another thing is you have to go with the soft plastics and jigs. The trips I was down there last week, soft plastics, pitching them behind the boat docks, caught some on the block at Old School jig around boat docks too. But the bass will spawn on Grand Lake heavily around and behind those boat docks. And that's going to be a big key pattern leading up. We have that Toyota Series tournament starting next week, so I'm going to be fishing that Toyota Series at Grand next week. I'll be able to give you a lot of info what's going on there. But that Grand Lake tournament next week is going to be a full-blown spawn type deal. It's going to be a lot of pitching and flipping, a lot of wacky rigging, that type of stuff. You can still probably catch some fish down at Grand Lake right now, like on a square bill crankbait and a big spinner bait for the pre-spawn fish. So if you guys don't want to fish like the mid to lower end of the lake, you could go up the lake in a little bit more dirtier water and still catch those pre-spawners like, square bills, chatterbaits, spinner baits, that type of stuff. Up at Lake of the Ozarks, fishing's been really good up at Lake of the Ozarks. Again, the water temperature up there is behind a lot. The water's still fairly cool up there. It's low to mid 50s. Lake of the Ozarks fish are still in a full-blown pre-spawn right now. That's changing real quick. It's like I said, even though that water temperature is in the low to mid 50s, those fish want to be up on the bank. It's the end of April. They want to be there. They're going to be there. So the same deal at Lake of the Ozarks. If you guys are going up there, I'd concentrate getting on the shallow flat banks, getting behind the boat docks, pitch a tube, pitch a brush hog, Z-hog, beaver, that type of stuff, over the cables, in around those walkways. That's where those fish are going to be bedding or getting ready to bed. And, that's going to be the best way to catch them on that particular thing. Bull Shoals it's been fishing pretty good also. One of the big keys down at Bull Shoals right now is you can catch some really good fish down there on a glide bait and a big swim bait. You can take that Megabass iSlide 185 or the Megabass Magdraft 6 and 8 inch, get on those 45-degree angle banks in the main creek arms and parallel them in about 5 to 10 foot of water. And if you have a day that's got some wind, you can catch some really good ones doing that there. But for me, the big deal at Bull Shoals lately has been a shaky head. I've been taking just a 7-inch trick worm, biting about an inch off the head on it, and just fishing secondary points with it. You can just get in there and fish that 5 to 15 foot zone, just point ends and point sides, run and gun points, run and gun patterns, run and gun points in those creeks. Those fish are setting up on those points, waiting to move back into the adjacent coast to spawn. So that's pretty much the whole deal with that. But the main thing, guys, is the spawn is way behind this year. It's a good 2 weeks behind. It's going to be coming on heavily this next week. So my advice to everybody, as far as over the next week, if you guys are fishing, is fish shallow. Get up and fish 2 to 5 foot of water. Concentrate a lot with your soft plastics, with wacky rigs, flukes, floating worms, that type of stuff, and it should be a good time to fish. So anyway, just get in there and plan on fighting the crowd, because there's going to be one, I can assure you. And I'll keep you guys updated next week for the Toyota Series tournament down at Grand. So thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you later.